Welcome to Talkin' Ship, the Venture Asheville podcast, where we talk about issues and topics in entrepreneurship. If you were looking for our sister podcast, Ship Talkers, you're in the wrong place. That's our podcast about schooners, yachts, dinghies, catamarans, and center consoles. Wrong ship. We're here to talk about entrepreneurship. And who are we? You can laugh. Hope it does help the audience. Laughing. Thank you. And who are we? We are the Venture Asheville team. Venture Asheville is the high-growth entrepreneurship initiative of the Economic Development Coalition for Asheville-Buncombe County. We build entrepreneurs and get startups funded. I'm Jeffrey Kaplan, the ship's captain, director of Venture Asheville, and lover of a good pair of noise-canceling headphones. With me, as always, is the wonderful, smart, talented, considerate, and creative Juliana Walker, our master of interactive media. Juliana, what's good?
Everything's going really well. I'm enjoying the Olympics right now. It's been a lot of late nights watching USA basketball lose to France. It's been great.
Two questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
One, how do you watch the Olympics? Because I haven't figured that out yet. And two, why haven't the men entered a 3-on-3 team?
I don't know why the men haven't entered a 3-on-3 team. Fully unaware of that decision. The women are kicking butt. And I watch the Olympics on YouTube TV. I have a discount, so from a good friend.
Because that's the complaint on Twitter is how to watch the Olympics. I'm a cord cutter. I don't do cable.
Same.
I don't have Peacock. I'm not into subscriptions. So I'm getting like YouTube clips here and there, but YouTube TV, you can actually watch it.
Yeah, I think YouTube TV, personally, not an ad, obviously.
If they want to sponsor us, we'll be open to that, though?
Yeah, I'm open to that. But I think it's a really cool, it's cheaper than, normal cable, I think. Well, it is for me.
Must be nice.
But I think it's great. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Okay. Well, speaking of the financial side of things, I fear I recently have not made a good financial decision.
Oh, really?
Yes, I keep having children. And it turns out kids are cost centers. I don't think they qualify as like a loss leader, as we would say in the biz. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my son, and I'm very excited about my daughter coming in November. But expenses are really adding up. And speaking of poor financial decisions, we have guests with us today who don't make poor financial decisions. They make really good financial decisions. That's why we asked them on today, so we can learn from them. When we started this podcast, Talkin' Ship, I drafted about 20 episodes worth of topics. And my top choice for guests on probably half of those were the founders of Moonlight Makers. Claire Watson and Nicole Hairfield have the terrible misfortune of having me as one of their team mentors in Elevate for 2 years. And I'm still trying to make it up to them. But getting to know these two impressive women and see the inner workings of their venture and knowing how much other people can learn from them has been one of the highlights of my time at Venture Asheville. So I'm really, really excited and glad that Claire and Nicole can make some time to chat with us today. Hi, Claire. Hi, Nicole. Good to see you.
Hi.
And our next guest I find very intimidating. Every now and again, I find myself in conversations with people that I feel totally out of my depth and outclassed, and it happened just this week. Sometimes as you learn more about a person and their background and how they're performing and what they do, I get what they call imposter syndrome. It's like, am I worthy of this person's time? And so let me explain. So I was walking with Emma Allen, the CEO of Everyday Oil, through her factory in Black Mountain. And we opened this door, we turned this corner, I forgot what it was, and we get into the warehouse. And my jaw hit the floor of the depth and size and scale of inventory at Everyday Oil. I don't know if there was a sale on cardboard or glass or spray bottles or nozzles. It was like as far as the eye could see and as high as the sky inventory. And so I turned to Emma and I said,
say that's a problem. I have too much inventory.
So I turned to Emma and at that point, like things are starting to add up in my head of like how this business is operating, what the cash must be like, and all the things that you kind of, just size up a business. And so I turned to Emma and I said, do you have any investors? Did you raise any debt? Like any loans? Like what trying to figure out what the operating model here is. And she gave this really sheepish grin and she just said, no. So anyway, I was like, that's when I felt like I'm being lapped here as if I was one of the triathletes in the Olympics, if you saw that. the winner from Bermuda was lapping people in the running. Unbelievable. Anyway, back to talking ship. These two ventures, Moonlight Makers and Everyday Oil, are leading startups in our area. They're both women-owned. They're in the craft maker space, and neither have ever taken on any debt or investors. And so I find those growth stories, their focus, their culture is just really fascinating, and I believe we can all learn a lot from them. So we've asked them to come on the podcast and talk some ship. Emma, Claire, and Nicole, welcome to Talking Ship.
Hey.
Thank you.
So good to have you with us. Tell our audience, who are you? Emma, you broke the ice. You spoke first. Tell us, who are you?
Well, my name is Emma Allen, and I'm the founder of Everyday Oil, obviously. I grew up in Asheville, but I went to college in New York and started Everyday Oil there, and then moved the company back to the Asheville area, to Black Mountain, actually, about 3 years ago, just to continue to grow the company and to set it up here. As Jeff mentioned, we have a warehouse and we have kind of all of our production in-house, and so we needed more space than I could afford in New York. And also, I'm happy to be back in the mountains. It's been great.
And we're glad to have you back in Buncombe County, not far from Asheville in Black Mountain. Speaking of far from Buncombe County, Claire comes from a faraway place. Is it Australia? New Zealand? What's your accent from?
Funnily enough, I've already been asked 3 times today if I'm from
Come
Australia.
on.
3 times.
Well, Claire and Nicole, tell us, who are you? What do you guys do?
So I'm Claire Watson, one of the co-founders of Moonlight Makers. Come from London. Been in Asheville for 10 years, and about 7 years ago, I moved into the house next to my lovely business partner.
Yeah. So I'm Nicole Hairfield, the other co-founder of Moonlight Makers, and I grew up in Michigan. I moved to Asheville about 15 years ago. I always ask Claire because I feel like I say the same amount of years every single year. She's like, Nicole, you have to add years. About 15 years ago or so.
Mhm.
And we just love it.
So I often like tell people are like, what are the startups like here? And I tell the Moonlight Maker story a lot. And I say, it's a really good example of what thrives in Asheville. So Claire was this corporate shark from London who decided to move here for the quality of life and the things to do. And Nicole was traveling with a band doing live art while they were jamming. And she was the person painting on the side of the stage. And they thought we should start a business together. There's obviously some more details in there. So let me ask a follow-up then. Like, actually tell us a little bit of what is like Moonlight Makers? What do you guys do? What do you make? What do you sell?
Well, we are a lifestyle brand. We are mainly known for our kind of funny, whimsical T-shirt designs, but really that's all a front. We're mainly a dish towel company, but we actually we put our designs on nearly 30 different types of products, and we sell through about 10 distribution channels. And we have a store down here in downtown Asheville, and we make everything right here in the store. We had 4,000 square feet until earlier this year, where we knocked through a wall and doubled our space, and we're able to increase our production. And 2021 has been really exciting, better than 2020.
Yeah, so we're looking at apparel and household items with fun, whimsical sayings that are screen printed on right here in downtown Asheville. Is that fair to kind of wrap it up, what y'all do, what it is?
Yeah.
Thank you. Emma, Everyday Oil, I understand you can use it on everything. So why not call it everything oil?
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
Or don't. This business you've done for 5 years. Don't change the name because of my dumb smart ass comment.
My brothers keep on saying that they're going to start a competing company called Every Other Day Oil. Like, no pressure to use it every day. You can just use it whenever you want.
But that's the idea. This is an oil you can use every day on everything. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it's really one product. It's an all-purpose, organic, plant-based skincare product. You can use it on your face, on your body, on your hair. It's a cleansing oil, so I recommend not using soap on your face, just using water and the oil. And it's really just sort of a one-stop solution for your skin that you can use on your whole body, your whole family, share with everybody. Simple skincare.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So before I actually get into some of the numbers and the growth and how you're able to grow, self-sustained, I've toured both of your factories and your companies. I know I've seen your employees. I've been in each of the places of business. I noticed something about both of your companies. Another thing you guys have in common that I don't see in a lot of companies. Like when you walk through it, there's like cool, hip, young people that are really excited to work and like do jobs. And we hear about millennials not liking the workforce and Gen Z and this and that, and the labor shortage we hear, and it's real, right? You walk down through any downtown, you see, hiring signs in every window. How do you find these cool, hip people, and what attracts them to your ventures?
Well, I think for us, we try really hard to hire slow. We've learned to lately we've been doing a working interview, just kind of getting the feel, like, let's see you do this job. Let's see how you fit in here. Let's see how you work with other people, and just try to start slow so we don't just jump the gun and then kind of maybe not make the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people walk in. I think a lot of people have heard of us and they apply because they already know about the culture, and they say, that some people apply every year. They say, I've always wanted to work there because I can see you when I come and shop in the store. I can see you all in the back laughing, and I can hear the music, and I can see the atmosphere, and so I want to be a part of this.
And you have a range of careers. You have the retail side, the production side, there's an e-commerce side, there's sales, wholesale. It's pretty wide-ranging business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Emma, where are you finding talent?
Yeah, similar strategy. I mean, we hire really slowly and do working interviews, and everybody on the team kind of has to say, yeah, we feel good about hiring this person. We're still a really small team, but I mean, for me personally, a lot of my motivation for starting businesses has been because I want to escape the culture of working life in America. I think it's incorrect. And so that's been a big motivator for me, is just to create a life around the company that feels sustainable for people, so they don't have to feel that, they can grind this job out for some amount of time until you are able to quit and do something else. And, not that everybody will necessarily work there forever, but I want it to feel like a full life. And so whatever I can do to support that, we try to do, which is often means just not following the rules of traditional companies and, being a traditional employer. So trying to think about what is actually correct instead of what is standard.
Awesome. Phenomenal. That's cool. You both do working interviews. I didn't know that going into this. That's pretty great. And I'll quote Marwan Irani, who's from the Chai Pani group, right? Chai Pani restaurant, Buxton Hall. The new one is, help me out. Nani.
S&W.
S&W, Nice Rotisserie Chicken, Adiwala. I mean, guys, like a real true restaurateur. And he said in a talk at Leadership Asheville that given the restaurant industry, he knows he's going to have a lot of churn, and his goal is to make his restaurants the best job anyone's ever had. So when you work for him, no matter what you're doing, that's his standard, knowing that people are going to churn in and out. I think that's a pretty incredible kind of marker of a leader. All right, back to, he's not on the podcast. Let's not talk about him. Let's talk about you. Give us a snapshot of the size of your businesses. So before we get to how you got here and the growth and your strategies and what you did financially to make this all work, if you could give us a snapshot of like number of employees, products, time in business, other stats you're comfortable sharing. Claire and Nicole, you guys have been a Venture 15 company for 3 years in a row. That's a hat trick, quite a standard. That means you've been one of the top 15 fastest growing startups in the area for the last 3 years. Emma, we found out that you qualified but never applied, and we're making sure you applied this year. But if you could give us a snapshot of where the company is today in terms, again, of kind of employees, number of resellers. Emma, you track boutiques you're in, kind of stuff like that to give somebody at home an understanding of the size of your venture.
Yeah, so we're a really small team. We have 6 employees, 7 including myself, and we are, we sell online direct to the customer, and we don't have a store, but we sell to other stores. So the last time I checked, we're in about 550 stores, around the world. And we have been in business for 5 years, exactly 5 years. Although we did, a few markets and things for the months before that. The 5 years was when I actually filed my business paperwork and became an official business. Yeah.
Yeah. Claire Nicole?
You're the numbers person.
Okay. So we started the business February 2015. It was about 6 months after we met, and we realized that we were spending every afternoon together with our kids playing. So we were like, we should really take over the world with all these hours, with all that time. So for the first couple of years, we just ran out of our houses. We screen printed everything on our kitchen counters. And then in 2017, we got a pop-up downtown, and we hired our first employee. And that's when kind of everything changed. Before we kind of just wanted to work and be with our kids. But then we were like, oh, this is something that could really grow. So now we're a team. Right now we're 18. We all work together down here in the one spot. We have a storefront here. We have a mobile bus, which is how we started. We sell through 5 different wholesale distribution channels. And we have our website. And we're on a couple of third-party websites as well. And we just hit this morning, actually, 1,200 resellers. So we got one of those wheels, and we bought loads of prizes. And everyone when we go back into the
They don't know
works,
yet.
They don't know.
They don't
Oh,
know.
come on.
We're going to go over there, and everyone's going to spin the wheel twice for prizes.
So that's how you attract cool, fun, hip people to work with you. There's lots of prizes and gimmicks, and that's part of the culture, right? Celebrating every milestone together as a team, not just you two, but your team you celebrate.
Yeah, we don't want to get up and be like, we're growing, and have nothing be in it for them. So we really, do also want to make it like the funnest place to work. I know that a couple people have been headhunted to work somewhere else, and they didn't leave us. So they said it was all about the free Friday lunch. So it's the little things.
Yeah, we've implemented a lot of things this year, like free lunch on Fridays, and everybody gets to pick a different place.
Massage chair.
Spaces. Yeah, we've tried to add things this year because I think for so many years we were just like growing so fast we didn't have time to even really think about what was going on, it's just like day to day, just get, the hustle. And then this past year, especially leading, right around 2020, we were like, okay, we need to start.
Life's short.
Yeah, life is short, enjoy it more and spread some of that a little bit more, make everybody happier.
Yeah. I've seen the massage chair. I've been trying to make time to find my way. Like, I happen to have an hour downtown. Let me just pop in Moonlight Makers if anyone's in the chair, or kick somebody out of the chair. But you've just talked about how fast you've been growing, and you probably feel like you got a tiger by the tail, right? So take us way back in time, 5 years ago at the market when you have your short bus. When you started, did you have a growth plan in mind? Did you think that you're going to have 1,200 resellers and 20 employees and a retail and factory downtown? What was your growth plan when you started?
I think right when we started, the plan was to try to do something during the week, stay home with our kids. Just be home with our kids, work on something together and grow it. We didn't really know what it was going to be. And we started selling other people's goods. And then we got the bus all within a week. We had a website to start. And then we just thought we need to take these things out and show them to people, because just a website at home is kind of a lonely thing to start.
It didn't do too well. We were just going to be a website selling other people's stuff. We were going to be an Asheville-based Etsy. But
that's right. Yeah.
The website flopped. So 4 days in, Nicole said we should buy a bus. And I was like, absolutely not. I have a tiny baby. Sorry. Anyway, 3 or 4 babies later, we just took them with us on the bus.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. So you started not with a growth goal in mind, but from a place of values, right? The quality of life you wanted, and kind of the space you wanted to be in. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, we wanted to be in the maker space. We wanted to help other makers. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
So
we got the
start with
boundaries.
your heart. Yeah. Start with
Yeah.
your why. You really start with your why, right? As the whole
Yeah.
Simon Sinek thing, and then kind of build from there.
Mhm.
Exactly.
did
And then
it-
we designed our first T-shirt,
Uh-huh.
which was "Let That Shiitake Go." Which, if you Googled it at the time, there wasn't anything on the internet for it. So we were like, "This is amazing!" And it sold out the first event that we did, which was here in Pack Square, Organic Fest.
Mhm.
And then we just kept on designing T-shirts, and 300 designs later, we're trying to reel it in.
We will never reel it in.
So you actively have 300 designs right now,
Yes.
and that's reproduced across towels and shirts, tank tops, hoodies,
Stickers, magnets,
mugs,
bath
right?
towels, mugs.
30 products.
Socks are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Socks. Ooh, can't wait. Sign me up. I hope they're organic. I want the best on my feet. Emma, tell us about you. When you started, this is not your first venture, right? So when you started Everyday Oil, what was your growth plan? What did you have in mind?
Well, I mean, I was making everyday oil for myself, before it was called anything. It was just sort of an oil that I made for myself and for friends and family. And it was something that I was just doing I was just geeking out on oils and, reading scientific journals about what they did for your skin and stuff. And, through that process, just realized that there was this huge hole in the market for that. I do have kind of obsession with businesses and what needs to be made in the world to fill holes and to make things better and to solve problems. And so with Everyday Oil, I kind of just knew what I wanted it to be in the world. I definitely didn't have a business plan or any sort of specific growth plan beyond knowing that I wanted it to be really accessible. I thought it should be sort of a product category that didn't exist, and that product category probably needed to be, distributed widely, not sort of a super boutique seller. There were a lot of skincare brands doing oils that were hyper niche and expensive and really targeted for specific things in tiny bottles. And I really felt like there needed to be this sort of almost a generic, a plant-based, organic, all-purpose skincare product that was everywhere. And so that was always my goal, was to make it really affordable and to find a way to sort of distribute it widely.
So you wanted CPG, wide distribution. I love talking about this idea of owning a product category. And one of my favorite, I don't know if it's a TED Talk or there's a book out there you can find. It's a Stanford talk. It's a Stanford e-talk on what it is to be a category king. And they talk about like bird's eye food, like they created, flash frozen vegetables that now is, a huge industry. The fact that grocery stores dedicate aisles to frozen food all goes back to bird's eye. Talk about being the category king. Fantastic talk. I recommend checking that out. So Emma, let's stick with you for a moment. Knowing that you wanted to have wide distribution and take over the world and create a new category, how did you get there without raising any money? Obviously, there's some self-funding, some savings, but talk about the growth and how you got from there to here with no debt.
Well, I wouldn't say we're there yet. We're still a pretty small company and still working on distribution and growing. But, one thing that I had worked on a lot of different projects and worked for other startups, and I sort of observed this phenomenon of people getting really distracted and trying to do too many things. And I think that when you look at the marketplace right now, there's a lot of different companies that are sort of doing really unfocused, wide variety of things. And I feel like if everybody's yelling about what they're doing into the marketplace, if you're trying to yell about 30 different things, it can be really confusing to know what a company is. What do they do? And I think with Everyday Oil, I really wanted to be really laser focused on what I did and just sort of focus on that. And so that really helped with cash flow, because if you only do one product, you only have to stock one product. And so I understood that as a way to be independent as well, to sort of not spread my resources too thin in different directions. And, Everyday Oil actually does have a really high cost of ingredients. If you look at most cosmetics, they're a huge percentage of them is water. And then, you know, beyond that, it's mostly synthetic fillers and things that are really affordable. And things like the oils and essential oils we use are typically, you know, under 5%, kind of really high level additives to things. And so for us, I knew that it was going to be important to the integrity of the product to really focus and not try to do too much, so that we could actually afford to get higher quantities of the ingredients at a lower price sooner. So I sort of created my price point based on this idea that I wasn't pricing it based on how I bought the materials in small quantities. I was pricing it based on how it would be priced if I really grew. So, you know, asking suppliers, well, what would it cost if I bought a drum of oil? What would it cost if I bought 10 drums, you know, and sort of figuring out how to create that price point that I could eventually meet and be profitable with. And so, you know, I think a huge point of our success is just accessibility. I think that people can afford everyday oil. And so, yeah, focusing on that one product helped me to remain independent. But otherwise, I mean, I had a little bit of personal savings. I had a credit card. But to be honest, you know, it was just a big hustle. I don't really know how I did it. I was working multiple jobs, working as a consultant, working at night, asking friends and family to help me. I didn't rent space for the first 2 years. I was doing it first in my house, and then in a friend's basement, and then in my house again. And so definitely it wasn't something that I would necessarily recommend to everyone. But for me, that was the right path. And it was, you know, what I wanted was to be able to run the company without debt and without outside interference, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's all yours, right? You have no one telling you what to do. You have, I mean, complete autonomy.
Yeah. And I think that there's also so much freedom in what you make and how you make it and how you treat employees with that. Because if there's not pressure to, you know, grow the bottom line, then, you know, you really have the opportunity to say, what is enough for me, and how can I grow this the way that I want and have the lifestyle that I want for myself and for other people in the company, and not just sort of feeding this endless beast of capitalism.
And, you know, I talked about in your intro how intimidating it was going into your factory. I may have been intimidated by it. Did look like a meth lab because you had just drums and drums, right? So it's like totally like late seasons of Breaking Bad. You have people in like hairnets and people in like gowns to not contaminate anything. It's very sterile. I'm not talking like early Breaking Bad in the Winnebago. I'm talking like late, you know, with much more industrialized. There's lots of drums. There's a lab. The whole sterility, and I was like, I could disappear here and no one would ever know. That might have.
You're not the first person. Ever since I started doing this, people are always like, "You really look like you're cooking drugs."
Yeah.
But always be in my kitchen with like a scale and measuring things.
No, but I think that adds to the quality of the product, right? How you do take a very science-backed approach. It's not the woo-woo essential oils are good for you thing. It's very quality and very controlled, and I think that adds to the standard of the product. Claire and Nicole, your growth is, I don't want to harp on organic, but you know, you started markets and then the bus and then online or pop-ups. Tell us about your growth plan and how it was really sustained by current sales.
So we just knew to keep our overheads really, really low in the beginning. You know, we ran out of my kitchen. The warehouse was in my basement. We did a lot of screen printing in Nicole's basement to start. So it was, and our houses were right next to each other. So it was very easy at that time. And it meant that we could do it during the day when we were in charge of all the kids.
Yeah.
So they were climbing us as we were doing it. But so then all we bought was the bus.
Yeah, that was the only thing we bought.
And we bought it off Craigslist and we did it up ourselves. And
I put my half on a credit card.
yeah, it was like,
Right? Like
we needed a couple grand each.
Yeah.
Is how we started the business.
Yeah.
And then with the money from each event, so we'd screen print all week and then we'd take the bus out on the weekend to a fair. And with that money, we'd buy into the next fair. And we just kept the costs really low. Yeah, I was working another job, still had my other business. And we just hustled. And we didn't hire anyone, and we just did everything ourselves for the first couple of years, just with no bills.
And didn't pay ourselves.
And we didn't pay ourselves.
Just worked a lot for no.
We call that reinvesting in the business, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you been approached by, you guys are pretty well known, like angel investors, or you, Emma, you as well are pretty well known, or you've had some major press coverage. Have you been approached by investment groups saying, we really want to invest in you, we love your story, we love your product, we want to see this thing go huge?
I have, yeah.
And you just stiff arm them like you're a Heisman Trophy? What do you do?
I mean, I've had conversations with people. I like to hear what people say just because I'm kind of interested, but I don't have any interest in taking capital right now. It's weird, when you are able to do something by yourself for a long time, it becomes less and less appealing to take outside capital. Right now, we've done the same. We've just reinvested all of our profit into growth, and it's worked really well. And at this point, I just see myself as my own investor, and that feels really good to me.
Awesome.
I think the scary thing for us about the possibility of taking like an investment is that the growth would no longer be organic. I think that we would, we make everything to order, which is how we've kept our overheads low. We don't sit on any printed anything. So in the beginning, we're like, oh, this is how many shirts we think we'll sell this weekend. Let's buy those shirts. We're printing them ourselves, so we weren't paying a screen printer. We taught ourselves to screen print with the help of a friend and some YouTube videos. And so it was really kind of grassroots. And if someone had injected money into that, I worry that it would have just kind of spiraled. We don't want to sit on a bunch of inventory. So we're still now working like we did then. We don't print ahead of time. We print when the order comes in.
Let me go ahead, Emma.
No, I think that's so true what you're saying. There's so much pressure as well from outside investment to kind of grow the company maybe in ways that you don't agree with, or for me to expand the product range in order to be more profitable. And you can really make decisions in your own time and feel out the market and be very instinctual when you're working independently. And I think with debt, you're saying that becomes very confusing to me, because we make a lot of decisions based on what we're able to do and keep it super lean. And the minute you have this massive amount of capital injected, I think it becomes very confusing, in different ways. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a question. I didn't send you guys ahead of time. I probably should have. Now I'm thinking about it. So I don't want to blindside you here, but let me set it up by addressing and checking my privilege as a white passing male living in America to ask a question about gender. So a while ago we had, in a previous episode, I should say, Dr. Susan Clark from UNCA on the podcast, and she was talking about that only 3% of all venture capital goes to women-led businesses. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to mention is we know from Kiva and microlending that women entrepreneurs are more likely to go after microloans, and they pay them back faster and at better rates than their male counterparts. So with that setup, what do you think is this a gendered thing that you guys don't feel that pressure, that, or I should say gender, I say you guys, that you folks don't feel that pressure or that attitude, or don't want that aggressive growth hustle that gets thrown on you from investors? And do you see it amongst your colleagues and contemporaries?
That's a great question. I mean, if I think about how I am in just regular life, I'm not very good at asking for help, and I don't accept help even if I need it, when I clearly need it, and there's someone right there offering, and I'm fine. It's like this self-sufficient, I have to do everything myself because I'm absolutely fine. I've got this. I can do everything by myself. So people offer money. I'm like, why? We don't need money. It's the same when people offer me help. Whereas my husband, for example, he would take all the help. Yes, of course, help me. He would ask for help. So I don't know if that's the difference in the gender, where women are like, I've got this.
I don't know.
Because
It's
I
hard.
don't know what it is. I would love to be able to ask for help.
It's hard to know if it's gender or if it's just like
How
who
you're
we
raised.
are.
Yeah.
We're like, there's something that I was reading this article the other day, and Claire and I were talking about it, how they were saying the most important thing you can instill in your children is grit. Like grit is the thing that's lacking. It's the most important thing to have in life, like success and, all of this. And I was thinking how Claire and I feel like we really have grit. Like we get knocked down and we take a minute of just like, oh man, I can't believe this. And then we're like, okay, let's just keep going.
Like in December, we worked 16 hours a day for 5 weeks because we had to. It just had to be done. Whereas if we'd had maybe some investment, we could have hired other people and had a regular life. But we didn't. It's like that grit. We just there's nothing that will get in our way. We'll just to save money, we'll always just do what we can ourselves.
Yeah. And like speaking to the gender thing, like, do you accept help? I feel like we've always, like, even after an interview, we don't go with like, well, this person has all the qualifications. Yes. We're like, what do we feel about that? And I don't know if that's a gender thing. I don't know. It's maybe a stereotype, but like we go with our feeling on things a lot. And we've made some choices where like for sure other people would say no, like that is a terrible decision, or sending our products overseas to be printed there. We've been approached a million times about that, and we always say no. It just doesn't feel right.
It's like, what's the point? People like, you will make more money.
Yeah, we would make more money.
And we like, oh, that we don't care. No, we like we literally don't.
Right now, if you had investors and shareholders, they would say you got to do better in margins. You got to go overseas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We don't like to be told what to do.
A tenth of the cost if you do this in China, in India. And we're like, that's not the business. That we don't want to be business moguls.
No.
We want to be like really like eco-conscious, just like great for people. Like we're not gonna, instead of getting a machine in, we'll hire like 3 people, local people, to do that job. Because we love the people part of it, and just but it's about gender.
So that
I don't know if it's gender.
that feeling thing. That feeling thing could be more related to like an MBTI personality, where you have thinkers and feelers, and that's not gendered. That's more about personality and decision making. Well, Emma, what do you think?
Yeah, same. I've never thought about whether being a woman has influenced my decision not to take outside capital. I mean, like you guys, I definitely don't like being told what to do. And be able to make decisions based on, gut instincts and feelings. I mean, I think that in terms of being able to be independent, I have thought a lot about my own privilege. I never had any financial help from my parents or from friends, but I always knew that if I was completely broke, I could go sleep on, my parents' house, or I could stay with a friend and people would feed me, and that I had a good community of support. And so, being able to there were definitely months in the first years of business where I would just take every single cent I had and put it into buying more inventory so I wouldn't sell out, because it was, in the beginning, it was just like sell out. And I had to just throw all the capital I could into not selling out in order to grow. And so that kind of risk taking comes with a lot of privilege, I think, to know that you won't be hungry if you don't have $5 that week. But yeah, besides that, as a woman, I'm not really sure if that's affected my decision. I don't know.
So I want to address this idea of grit in your kids. I think this is a fascinating topic, and you talk about how essentially tough y'all are, and Emma, I know you are too. I have to plug ourselves here and say we built the experience side of Elevate, our mentorship program. We're not when you're meeting mentors and you have your 90-minute sessions, but the things we make founders do outside of those things. That track with 13 entrepreneurial competencies. You can learn more about these at the13.com. That's the number 13.com. And 2 of them that we track are tenacity and resilience. And to define those a little more, tenacity is like how hard of a punch can you take, or like how long can you just hang on to the bull that you're riding. And then resilience is how fast you get back up, right? It's like how quickly do you get back in shape and get back in there. And you need both and degrees of both, but they're really hard and to inspire and develop into people. And the one story I like is about it's this anecdote. I don't know if it's real or what the story is, but the story goes like, there's a kindergarten class, and they did this 2-week experiment where they helped caterpillars form cocoons, and then watched as the butterflies emerged from their cocoons. Do you guys know this story? Have you heard this like versions before? All right. So the story goes that as butterflies emerge from the cocoon, they actually bleed a little bit. It's as their wings expand and they break out of the cocoon, there's a little bit of blood. And so you have to explain to the kids why there's bleeding. But then they start flying and it's beautiful. And, they have their little box and stuff there. And the kids learn a lot about metamorphosis, et cetera. Anyway, one of the little boys saw a butterfly struggling and grabbed the cocoon and started peeling it open to help the butterfly out. But what happened was, because the boy interfered with this process, the butterfly couldn't fully extend its wings. And that's where the little bit of blood comes from. And the butterfly has to expand its wings fully to expand from this tightly wound cocoon. And then they can fly because they have these full wings. But when the boy opened up the cocoon, the butterfly couldn't fly. It never made it. And that's, I think, a story of tenacity. Like, we can't open the cocoon for our kids, right? You're not going to become a better entrepreneur by somebody stepping in and doing the things for you. You have to go through the hard things yourself to become, metaphorically, the butterfly. That's what being an entrepreneur is all about.
Yeah, it is.
And that was story time with Jeff. My next question for you guys is tell me about your first sale. I love asking entrepreneurs this question. It's something that the fledgling entrepreneur, the person sitting on a product or trying to roll something out, or still testing it out, prototyping with their friends and family. Tell us what your first, and I'm sure you both remember it very clearly. What was your first sale?
Do you want me to say?
Yeah.
Okay, so way back in 2015, when we were just a website, we stayed up all night and did all of this work for our big launch that obviously no one really knew about, because we were, you know what I mean? It was very grassroots.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had these 40 other makers, and one person made these really cute scarves, and we were so excited. Claire was like, we have a sale. We have a sale. Oh, wait, it's my mother-in-law.
She was buying a scarf for me.
Yeah.
She bought it for Claire.
Still my favorite scarf.
So she picked it
That's
up and
great.
she's like, okay, that's our first sale. And she put
You
it on.
unbox it right there and put it on. Yeah.
It was funny.
All right. So that was your first iteration of the business, which was the local Etsy version.
Yeah.
When you started making your own products, tell us about the first sale of a product you created.
Yeah, it was actually the tank
Yeah.
that Nicole is
t-shirt.
wearing.
Probably backwards, but
No, we see. Let that talk you go. Yep.
It was on the bus, and it was the first time we'd ever screen printed anything, and we sold them all in that day. I mean, probably 60 products, but just one after
Can you
the other.
picture the first person who picked up the shirt and bought it?
I can't remember anymore. I don't
No,
We do have a picture.
Oh, we took a
We
picture
took
of
a picture of them.
you did.
And she's been in since.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Okay.
we remember.
She's like, I bought your first ever t-shirt.
Awesome.
It was a big deal.
It was,
Yeah.
I mean, wow, what a feeling.
And you sold out that day.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then we knew. We were like, okay, Claire's going to make me draw some other silly
This
vegetables doing
incredibly
something.
serious artist. And I was like, and draw this, and then we're going to put some funny words next to it.
Can you make the mushroom happier? Yeah, right.
A mushroom doing yoga. I'm like,
Right.
no, I don't do that. What are you talking about?
You went to art school, right? You have like a degree in art,
Yeah, now.
and now you
I-
doodle on t-shirts.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I do now.
Phenomenal.
Claire.
And sometimes you don't doodle. Sometimes you guys just put sayings on there. How does that make you feel, Nicole?
At this point, it's like a whole, I'm so used to it, and it's fun, and seeing people actually love it and want it, and this is perfect for my nephew, or all of that,
Mhm.
and people just walking around and laughing at everything and saying all of the sayings out loud. I mean, it's totally worth it.
And that's a reaction. everything that we've evolved into is a reaction to feedback. So people go, oh, I would love to wear this if it didn't have the doodle. And so we're like, okay, we need to do a line of typography.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that doesn't get old, right? How many, like, even if you're seeing the shop every day and someone new comes in and you see them giggling and laughing and saying like, honey, come see this towel, come see this shirt, look at this.
All day.
Does that ever get old? No.
Oh,
Never.
Not.
And they
ever.
always read them wrong too. The patterns. It's amazing.
It's true. And then sometimes they'll be like, what does this mean? Beach better have my money? And I'm like, oh, it's a song. Don't worry about it. It's just a song.
And what is the doodle with beach better have my money?
It's a shark with a metal detector.
It's like, I love it. I love this business.
For you too, because it says, I run a tight shipwreck. And it's like a ship going down. And you guys need it for your podcast.
Okay. Well, I'll come by. I'll pick up a couple of those for us. And I might spend some time in the massage chair. Emma, tell us about your first sale.
My first sale was, so my friend in Brooklyn has a restaurant called Vinegar Hill House. And she had a little event on Sundays where she would ask friends of hers who made things to come and sell them. And I had just printed the bottle and I had found a screen printer that would do a run of 200, which was really hard to find. They all wanted to do 1,000 and I couldn't afford to buy 1,000. And so it was this terrible color. The color came back really wrong. It was sort of like skin tone nude, the color of the orange. I was like, well, I gotta sell these. And my friend was doing it. She's like, you have to come, just bring it. Who cares about the bottle? It doesn't matter. So I sold them that day in Brooklyn.
Did you sell out too?
I definitely did not sell all 200 of the skin tone printing I had, but I did sell some, and it was cool. It was cool to interact with people in person. And I remember when I first put the website up, it was maybe sometime that day or the day after that a stranger bought. Because, you see your friends and family buy, and you know that. And then I was like, a stranger bought it.
Yeah, so that's I think there's a couple really important lessons there for founders or fledgling founders listening. Your first sale is likely going to come from your inner network, right? Your friends and family, people near you who like you, who trust you. That's where your first sales are going to come from. Let me ask you, Emma, let me go back a second. Can you picture, when you close your eyes, the first person who purchased Everyday Oil?
No. I'm not sure exactly who purchased it at that restaurant first, but I do remember a lot of friends came by. At that point, I had been making Everyday Oil just for myself for a long time. So I did have a lot of friends and family who I had gifted to who over the years would be like, please, can I get more, And so I had a lot of people that were waiting for me to actually sell it. So they didn't have to keep asking me as a favor to make it for them. My mom actually was already making it with her own recipe at that point, and my aunt too. They had made me send them my recipe, and then they would, email me and say, "Here, I've tweaked it. Mine's better now. You can."
And do you find that pretentious? Are you still on good terms with them?
I don't talk to them.
Yeah. All right, we're getting close to the end of our episode here, so lightning round. What was another another lesson for people listening? What was your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
We've done some things that failure. I mean, we're so glad that we did them, but they didn't work out. We learned so much, especially not to do them again. But things like we committed to a 7-week Christmas pop-up in the local mall. That was one of our biggest failures. The way we approached it, the way it went, all of it.
And so what has changed about, because you guys still do pop-ups, I know you've done markets, for example, the one you did with Amazon in Bryant Park, right? So you'll still do a market. What have you learned from that experience at the mall that you've taken with you going forward?
location.
Yeah, be more selective of, where to do a pop-up. I mean, Bryant Park and the Asheville Mall are pretty different.
Yeah, right. Could imagine,
So,
sure.
Yeah, we just learned to be a little bit more selective where we put our energy, especially during Christmas, which is so crazy. I just don't even see us doing pop-ups during Christmas unless it's Bryant Park or something really, really, really awesome.
Cool. Emma, what's your biggest failure? Have a little therapy session here. Rather than giving your recipe away to family members and having them tell you it was wrong.
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you that I've made so many mistakes, like all the time, and I still make them. And I mean, I think it's helpful for me that I've done every single job at Everyday Oil, because when other people make mistakes at work, I'm like, yeah, I've done that, that happens. And it helps you learn, how to not F up. I don't know. Over time, the more you mess up, the more lessons you learn. I think that for me, a big thing about failure is just trying to, not to sound woo-woo, but talk kindly to yourself and to, remember that failures are lessons and it's all information, and that, the longer you're in business and the more you mess up, the more you will potentially not make those same mistakes going forward. Yeah.
Excellent. Last question for you both. And thank you again for your time. It's wonderful to see all three of you and talk about your business. And I feel like we're catching up, even though we keep it very businessy and not personal, but it warms my heart to see the three of you. Other than socks, what's next for your venture, Claire and Nicole at Moonlight Makers?
Okay.
Lots.
Yeah.
Bath towels,
Yes. That's the big one.
bottle openers,
Pillowcases.
wine bags.
Yep.
Our goal is to buy a building by the end of next year.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
But no more stores. So just like growing in the kind of reseller market.
Yeah. No more Moonlight Makers.
No more
stores.
Moonlight Makers
Yeah.
retail locations.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are a lot of big things coming for the venture.
I know. It's funny because hearing Emma say, I have one product and I wanted to really hone in on it. Claire and I are over here like,
Yeah, you guys are really focused on exactly what you do. You have a very clear direction. You just make more products, but it's very within a very focused wheelhouse.
Wow.
Yeah, we have about 190,000 SKUs, which
Yeah.
makes
Wow.
most business owners' heads spin.
Including ours.
Oh yeah.
That is so impressive. That's wild.
Yeah. We were like, okay, we're going to retire some designs. Claire and I went through every single one. I think we got rid of like three. Yeah. Okay, we got rid of 3. And the employees were like, oh, okay, 3. Nice.
You've gotten rid of 3, but you also got much more organized about how you store and stack and kind of your card catalog or database of these designs.
Yeah, we're getting more organized. That's also what's to come, is being more organized. More efficient, more organized all the time as we grow. It's like a constant new adventure. What do we need now? And we try to listen to the staff because they're the ones who know what we need next more. Or like the problem, most recently was, hey, Claire and Nicole, I'm running out of space over here. I'm not sure if you noticed. And then we're like, oh my gosh, you are. Yes, you are. We needed more space,
Wow.
So we just try to listen to them. And
They come up with all the ideas. We have the most incredible team I've ever met. Ever.
Awesome. Emma, other than Every Other Day Oil, what's next for Everyday Oil?
Well, we're gonna expand the line, but the product will always be within this very specific umbrella of plant-based, organic, all-purpose skincare. So I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to make because it's top secret, but but it will all be within that very small box.
Julianne, I feel like we're doing something wrong. We've had multiple guests tease. As a question I always ask, what's next for your venture? And people are always like, well, we can't tell you yet. And then my offer is when you want to announce it, we'd love to have you back on the podcast to talk about it.
Okay.
And then I feel like we're doing something wrong. Are we not building enough rapport and trust with our founders that they don't want to tell us their secrets?
It's only
I
when
think
you
it's just our faces. Yeah.
at the internet that I don't
On the internet, yeah. Well, we'll work
There
on
we go.
that. Quick plugs for you guys. Emma Allen, Everyday Oil. Is it everydayoil.com?
Yeah.
And we can find you in over
While the
500.
for that domain.
Yeah, and we can find your product in over 550 boutiques in all the coolest cities and neighborhoods in the country.
We would love to sell everyday oil.
551.
Yay!
I want a tour. We should have done that before this podcast.
Yeah, we should.
That's a great idea.
Next Elevate event will be a tour of Moonlight Makers. Claire, and if you don't mind, Claire and Nicole, we're just going to bring 25 founders through. Maybe you'll sell a t-shirt. Claire and Nicole with Moonlight Makers, moonlightmakers.com, found on Amazon and 1,500 resellers at your headquarters in Walnut and Rankin in downtown Asheville, at a festival downtown probably every weekend. What else do you guys want to plug?
That's it. If you
I
come
covered
down,
it.
if people come down to the store, they can watch everything getting made right there, and then.
Awesome. Thank you, the three of you, so much for opening up, talking about your ventures. You guys are leaders in the community. It's the kind of thing we won't know for a generation of how many people you're inspiring through your work, through your stories, through how you run your business, for what it's going to lead in the future. I personally want to thank you for your time today, for what you're doing for our city, for our county, for our region, and just keep up the great work. We're so proud of you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Juliana, any final thoughts?
No, I just think that was really, really great to hear about their growth and how they started, their grassroots, and where they're going to go next. Both of you guys, or all three of you guys. So it's great.
All right. This is a heartwarming talking ship episode. Let's spice it up next time. Do something more crass. All right. Thank you all so much. Great seeing you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.